I am having so much fun with this thing. That little intro there, all of the drum sounds you heard, yeah, made with the DrumBrute Impact. If you're looking at an entry into sort of the analog drum machine world, well, you might first off be thinking, why? Is it the kind of thing that's worth it for me? I had the same reservations that you're having right now. The thing is, I found there is so much value in having this little tactile unit in front of you where you've instantly got access to those key sounds that you want, and they're completely tweakable. Rather than having to open a set of plugins and find the right parameter, you've got exactly what you need right in front of you to tweak those sounds and get them as you like. And it makes making a unique drum pattern that changes and evolves over time really, really fun to do. And this is the thing for me that's getting me way on board with the idea of using an analog drum machine in my DAW and general music production. Now, there's a few options out there for this kind of drum unit, but full clarity, I reached out to Arturia and they sent me this unit over to have a play about with and test with, meaning I can get hands-on and really get a vibe for, is this something that I want to pick up? Categorically a yes. I've massively enjoyed having that little tactile response and something to play with and hands-on in the element that's usually the first thing I'll create in a piece of music, which is some kind of drum loop or groove, which I have to say is far more fun than grabbing a break, dropping it in and chopping it up. Mixing those two together like we did in the intro, chopping up some samples, in with those drum loops. And if you want to jump back to the intro again, listen, because the hi-hats, kick and snare all change fluidly. And to tie that back into talking about the Brute Impact here, we can send out 4 of the key sounds, allowing us to split up the mix and work on it in real time. If you have a listen, I actually sent the snare and the hats into a reverb. Having a little control for the send of that on my keyboard then let me tweak it and push it into the reverb a bit more. If we have a look at the back of the Impact Brute, my gripe would be we're on mini jack 3.5mm, and I would much rather there was a 1/4 inch jack there. However, as you see, I've reviewed other units recently that don't even have multiple outs. So do you know what? Blessing that it is there. And to keep this unit as small as it is and having such a very small profile and requirement for desk space, I get the sacrifice. And this tiny little unit has a bunch of other useful functionality here on the back as well. You can have clock source, you've got a USB, and you've even got MIDI in and out. Meaning, yeah, you could sync it up to other old hardware, some of the newer hardware, or have it hooked up directly to your computer and synced with your DAW via the USB. This allows you to go beyond the patterns and song saves that you can save on the device, which, to be honest, is probably enough for an entire performance. Now, upon reading the initial reviews of the DrumBrute Impact, people seemed a little bit upset by the overall sound of it. I have to say, I'm not one of those people. I do, however, have the distortion on pretty much from the offset because it gives the sound that I particularly really like coming out of this. And by having that distortion option, that distortion control, it actually gives you a massive suite of different sounds. Now, this goes a step further in that each of the sounds has an accent as well, or the pad itself is actually velocity sensitive. So if you feel like playing it in, well, you can capture that sensitivity. It's a scale of 1 or 2, so there's 2 different sounds depending on how hard you hit the pad on each sound. That would also be the accent if you were to press the accent next to the step sequencer. But that's not all. There's another button called the color button, and when you enable this and trigger it, you'll see that the pad instead flashes orange. This tells us it's now playing from its second engine, its colored engine, which also has a 2-stage velocity. By switching on color, it doesn't apply to every single pad. Instead, you can mix and match, now giving you even more flexibility in the sound of each individual option. And then again, when we apply through distortion, we've got a whole host more flexibility. So the DrumBrute Impact is a compact design, but it's got everything that you could really want in a drum machine all crammed into that tight space. But it's also not lacking for any of the technical things that we might want to use in a drum machine, such as delayed snare hits. They can be done individually. We can actually just delay our snare hit or make our kicks come a little bit sooner, while also individually using the swing selected track only option, swing just the hi-hats in between. Meaning the DrumBrute Impact's sequencer options are actually more capable than some of the base DAW's built-in sequencers, which is kind of ridiculous in this little compact unit. I have to say the unit itself is built like a tank. You can hammer away at this, it's nice and sturdy, it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart, unlike some other analog drum machines in this kind of price bracket. And in that respect, the Impact has really been thought about in terms of its design. You may know from this channel that I'm kind of an MPC guy. I've got the 1000, I've got a 25K, there's even a Machine Plus sat behind me right now. I like that kind of working with the pads vibe, but having all this instant tactile control of a drum sequencer right to hand really is fun to work with. If you have any further questions, please just leave that in a comment down below. Right up here, linked up will be more information on the Impact, and I do look forward to seeing you guys in future videos. So if you want to throw a subscribe, please do, and take care.